If you want to start out with a little comedy, I know it's one that you have yet to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to definitely put it on your radar. Billy Eichner's Bros was a movie that a lot of people were anticipating, but then it came out. And everyone's against it just because it didn't do it didn't do Endgame numbers or something. But This was one that I know premiered at TIFF, and a lot of people were able to catch it there. I was able to go to an early screening of it. It is now out this weekend. It did not beat the big horror film, but I don't think that's the point of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that out of a lot of the comedies that we tend to get on a yearly basis, especially the Judd Apatow ones, this one was pretty solid. In that front, it's also able to come at it from a different angle and being able to see, not just the bro side of it, but Billy Eichner's perspective of it. He's also very much an individual who is, loud and out there, and because it's him narrating a version of himself practically, because he is famous in the movie. He is a podcaster. You're able to see his perspective of how he's kind of maneuvered being in New York City and his love life. I also think that watching this before coming to New York, he's practically walked. The whole movie is in the vein of the classics, like You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle. He watches all of those movies there. It's like he's homaging all of those and being able to use New York City as the character. So seeing him walk through everything in the city and then coming to the city and walking all of those things, it was a good prep leading up to it. But
totally.
I'd say catch this one in theaters if you can. I think this is one that definitely can be enjoyed with an audience to the max because of a lot of the jokes that hit. I know it didn't do as well, but I think, be it in upcoming weeks or when it's out on VOD, I don't think it should be a deciding factor that Billy Eichner can't open a movie when this is the first movie I think Billy Eichner's ever opened.
It's weird because I think I'm trying to think about other movies that have come out this year, and like Top Gun box office was a story, but that's mostly because it was such a huge success. And maybe
different.
There's some weird corners of the internet that care about like how much money Batman made and how much money Doctor Strange made. But like, other than those gigantic blockbusters, box office hasn't really been like a huge talking point about a movie, or like maybe the central talking point about a movie aside from this one. Mm-hmm. And I don't know like where the fault is, if that's Billy and the team behind Bros' fault for like pushing this movie has to be a success so much that like it became the story, or just people wanting to like cut it at the knees and like belittle it and talk about that in terms of like whether or not it's successful, the same way that like I don't know, they do to people who they want to declare are not like big deals, right?
Woman King had the same thing because they both came out.
That's true too.
I would disagree. I understand the push. It's your movie. They're producers on it. Viola for hers and Billy for his. But there is a point where you're marketing it to a degree where people are gonna want to see you fail. Mm-hmm. And I think Woman King was the perfect example of a movie that did not fail because it actually made decent amount of money for its opening week. It didn't like do $100 million or anything, but so many people were against that movie that they took everything she said about, you not supporting this movie means we're not going to see more like that. Billy did the same thing. I get what they're saying. I don't think it's the smartest strategy because you need those people to also see your movie. Like, that's part of the revenue that comes in. You want to make a movie that's accessible to the point where you're able to have a box office hit. And I don't know if the marketing is what veered a lot of people out of the way. Maybe Billy wasn't in the streets as much as he should have been. He did one little ad for it, but
I gotta say, I've heard nothing but positive things. Not a single negative review from anybody that I talked to.
But you didn't like?
I didn't like the trailer. I didn't think the jokes in the trailer were good, and I've heard from some people who are like, I agree. There's plenty of jokes in the movie that are very good.
It's like the Bodies trailer. It did it completely dirty, and then you go watch it when you're like, oh, this is a completely different tone. No, I would say that Bros, be it later on or when it's out on VOD or I don't even know, everything hits streaming services way too fast. Did I tell you? Don't Worry, Darling, which I don't think we're going to be speaking about. November?
Already?
HBO Max?
HBO Max, not even VOD.
Max.
Not even PVOD, damn.
And that came from the Rap and the Hollywood Reporter, so Bros is Universal, if I'm not mistaken, if you didn't catch it in theaters.
Yeah.
I'd say at least catch it on Peacock, because I think it's a funny movie.
I'm still trying to catch that one in theaters. I like Nicholas Stoller a lot, the director who's directed some of my favorite comedies of the last like 10, 15 years or whatever. And I like Billy Eichner a lot too. I don't know how he's going to be in this role, but like I'm open to it, and I think he's very funny. And again, like I've heard nothing but positive things. So yeah, I wish there were more comedies in theaters generally, right?
Simple.
There haven't been a lot. It's been one of the genres that has been a little bit like sidelined in the last or the recent trends of Hollywood, and it's fun to see a collective movie that people are laughing at together, and we don't get that as much as we used to.
People want to go get scared instead.
Yeah.
But speaking of the funny, I think people stay at home